I'm Ken Syrie, the Dean of the Business School, and welcome to the third annual REDe Summit. I wish we were in person, but with COVID, of course, we're not. I thank all of the volunteers, all of the students, the CIE staff and faculty, and our board members. Thank you for what you're doing to make this a great success. I know it will be a wonderful conference, and I look forward to returning in person sometime in the future. Go out there and do great things and make great businesses, and I hope that you change the world. Thank you for what you're doing.
Welcome to the REDe Summit 2020. Today we've got a panel consisting of Lawrence Adams, a former football player at the university who went on to work in corporations for a while before jumping into the restaurant business, where he owns some restaurants in Jackson, Mississippi. William Ault, who graduated about 5 years ago from the computer science department on campus and now works in a Silicon Valley startup as a co-founder. And Teresa Yantova, who was a second place winner in the Gillespie Business Plan competition for academic year 2019-2020. She's a collegiate tennis player and will speak a little bit about her experience both as a college student and athlete, as well as someone that's pursued an entrepreneurial venture on campus. I hope that their discussion about their experiences, the things that they've learned sort of through their entrepreneurial path, as well as the takeaways they've had from the current crisis, are informative and interesting to you, and I hope that you have a good session. All right, so William Ault, thank you very much for joining us from the offices of Curtsy in Silicon Valley, California. If you could, just tell us a little bit about yourself to open it up and tell us a little bit about your experience.
Of course, yeah. So I went to Ole Miss, graduated in 2015, studied computer science there. I'm definitely more of a, kind of business mindset, but wanted to have that experience and meet the people in the department and understand how software was built, and kind of been an entrepreneur my whole life. And Curtsy's kind of probably my third or fourth attempt at trying to build a technology company, and have made great strides and got a long way to go, but it's been exciting thus far.
So, this sort of conversation's happening in the midst of the pandemic, which, good news comes, bad news comes, sort of up and down all the time. Tell us a little bit about some events or potentially catastrophic events that you've overcome in the course of your career and life.
So I guess if we're making it about me, there's it's a really catastrophic event when I was summer after my freshman year in high school. I was in a four-wheeler wreck I was with my grandparents within Ohio, broke my pelvis in 4 places, had a substantial brain injury that really kind of messed with my cognitive functioning for an entire year after. Had to relearn how to walk. That was really, really tough, and kind of changed my thinking on challenges and kind of how I face them really for the rest of my life. There's nothing like a kind of near-death experience that will help you put things in perspective and what matters. But more broadly with Curtsy and with any small company, there's constantly existential and internal threats. One of the up and downs of business are especially with a small company, are always there. So half the battle is maintaining good relationships with your co-founders, as well as not trying to focus too much on competitors and worrying that your great feature that makes you different and unique is just going to be copied by your competitors, and then only find out your competitors have no idea who you are, and they've been thinking about this for years prior. So I guess a story from our early days. I think one of our biggest growth weeks. I was still living in Oxford, and we were really excited about this new local feature that was going to allow us to expand from Ole Miss to Texas and South Carolina and Georgia and Florida. And we shipped this brand new app version we've been working on for 3 weeks, and come to find out that no one could sign up for whatever reason, the initial like sign-in flow, you would open it, put in your email, and the app would just crash. And it was a terrible several days. This is back when apps would take 3 or 4 days to be reviewed. So we're like emailing tim@apple.com. Like it's just school ending in 3 weeks. This is like our time to shine. We applied to Y Combinator. We got an interview, and yet like we can't sign anyone up to the product. I mean, it is like it is completely catastrophic. And ultimately, yeah, we were able to. We got a reply from Tim at Apple, and our app was in review and then released the next day. So it was really only, you got to put in the scheme of things. We were expecting to sign up 200 or 300 people. We missed all those people, but now, of course, we sign up 2,000 or 3,000 a day. So, that's a really, really small part of the story, but seemed like a really, really big deal at the time.
Well, I mean, so along those lines, so things come kind of along. What's going to be the next challenge you guys will face, you think?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in that phase now. Initially, when the pandemic hit, I guess kind of at beginning of the year, we were having a really great kind of start of the year. Lots of, kind of after Christmas, everyone's buying and selling clothes and excited about cleaning out their closet. And that's like a really great time for us. When the pandemic hit, we had 2 down weeks, and then kind of immediately this big resurgence because everyone was at home. All stores were closed. There was really no other options, as far as shopping goes or thrifting. We're, I guess, one of the few ways to shop. I think a lot of our customers are in flux, and so we've got to figure out how to continually grow and evolve with, and just be ready for what's gonna happen, because the last, this summer's kind of strange. People moving around. Same thing with college now. So I think really our challenge is moving from kind of this niche, really 16 to 20, 24. It's like our core product market, and so now we've got to figure out how do you scale, and largely the same items. The same people are buying and selling, and the same items are popular to that group. But as soon as you go older, right, you're not wearing college apparel as much or anymore. So how do you maintain a high quality and differentiated experience for people who are, not in your same age group? So it's a really hard problem. It's essentially personalization at scale. It's going to be our really next biggest challenge.
Yeah, so hanging on to customers as they get older and their lives evolve.
Exactly, and trying to attract them and really making sure that we're continuing to deliver on a better experience than other places where you could shop, right? eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, Depop are kind of the people that we consider ourselves in the same playing field with.
Awesome. So when you face those challenges, or when you've run into career challenges, what kept you guys from giving up? So Curtsy's had sort of a had a big pivot there in the middle. What sort of kept you guys from giving up?
Yeah, I think really we got some great advice early on, and I think I've kind of followed this through my career in life. Is that you see this repeating pattern is people who give up, rarely succeed in that idea. That's apparently obvious, but lots of the best startups, that exist today looked markedly different when they started. And you ultimately listen to your customers, and you evolve. And one of my favorites is I guess a little. They're having a rough time right now, but we'll talk about Airbnb. Their initial, they valued for the first year, even they valued their business based on the number of airbeds sold in the United States, right? Like it was about renting an airbed for your living room. I mean, that they were like going to conferences, anywhere the hotels were sold out. That was like when you would use Airbnb, right? And that's completely different than where they are today. Same thing with Twitch, which was acquired by Amazon. It's the way to live stream primarily video game based content. It was initially started out as a live stream reality TV show. I mean, it's like so different, right? And like 1% of traffic was using this video game thing. It seemed super niche. but they worked on that for almost 4 years before they found this niche and created, $1 billion of value in like 2.5 years. I mean, it was like, and they were able to move just like us. They were able to move so quickly because they had been working together, pushing product, had, deep levels of trust in the team. And that's something a lot of people think kind of take for granted. As soon as you have your startup and you're working with new people for the first time, it's really hard to get in sync and move very, very quickly. So even if you've worked together for a period of time and you're really relentless about it, ultimately, and you experiment, then you can definitely find something. And that's the case with us when we were listening to our customers and they just really wanted to buy and sell things. And it turns out that's a much better business. I think we were certainly unique, and that's kind of with renting in the early days. And that was really hard to give up. But ultimately, when we looked at ourselves and we're like, okay, this is not growing, we're not going to be able to have the impact here. And if we can make it focused on temporary ownership, which really solves the same rental problem, right? It's like when you buy something, you think you have to have it forever. But if you build the app to cycle your things and make reselling really easy, it's really just like renting without the constraints. You don't have to return it if you don't want to, which is a big thing.
Yeah, so it's still sort of the rental model. It's just a different.
Yeah,
who has the capital? It's a little different.
It's optional, right? It's if you want. I mean, this is very common. If you buy a popular item on Craigslist, you can wear it, keep it for 3 weeks, a month, and then one tap, just push resell, and then instantly all the people who looked at it before will get a notification that this item is now for sale again if you want it, right? So you have almost like a built-in kind of marketing loop there, which is really powerful.
Awesome. So who would you consider a mentor, and how did this person help you prepare for some of these challenges?
Yeah, I think I have a couple mentors, and I think it's important, especially with mentors and advisors, is there's like a kind of specific pieces, bits of value you can get from different people at different times. And so I think it's often people kind of want to approach it as this formal process, but the people that we've gotten that I've gotten a lot of value from are in the early days. Obviously the whole CIE and the Ole Miss community were really, really great. Raising money from the Rebel Venture Capital Fund, the Global Business Plan competition, like those are all great, and had a lot of really good experience at Insight Park, and they have entrepreneurs in residence there, and people I worked with kind of helping us get from no product to our first customers and our first users. So in the early days, right, that's someone you want help with. But now, 2 years later, really, or even 4 years later, your challenges are very different, and you need people who can help you with, like kind of in our space, growth for consumer mobile app growth, right? Which is a lot different than getting your first customer and you're trying to build V1 of the product. So to kind of name a couple of those, what I talked about not giving up, that was kind of day one advice from our mentor and Y Combinator named Justin Kahn. He started Twitch. He was a founder at Justin TV that then turned into Twitch. And that was his advice from day one is, the people that I see that are successful, and the reason that that I was successful is I literally just didn't give up. And, that's kind of the difference is when something's not working, do you either call it quits, or do you continue to try to make something work and figure it out, right? It's like, don't spend near as much money, approach things with a degree of skepticism. And we were fortunate. We didn't have a lot of money in the bank. We decided to pivot, but we had enough, to not there to reduce our salaries a whole lot and say, all right, we think we can make a go out of this. And, still be able to raise money and build a good business. And we've fortunately been able to do that.
Awesome. So, what should college students do at their age to be prepared with a more entrepreneurial mindset, right? So we're in a recession. We're going to try to grow our way out of recession. Your favorite one, Airbnb, started during the last major recession we had, and sort of ramped up through the growth phase. So we're really hoping that people can come out of college and come into the workforce prepared to help grow something and be flexible about it. So what should they learn?
Yeah, I mean, I think college is just such a great place to experiment and meet people. I think there's very few. I think it's kind of two parts. There's obviously learning that you can get in the classroom, but some of that's not for everyone. I mean, I made some of my best friends in college and learned a lot of really valuable lessons. Co-founder of Curtsy was a computer science student with me, Eli Allen, and we spent many a night programming late into the night in the computer science lab. We formed a friendship that way and worked on many projects that didn't go anywhere, but were all great ideas at the time that really set the foundation. So my kind of suggestion for people to get the most out of college is, think about the amount of time you have and the freedom, and try to build relationships outside of just the college ecosystem. Meet people in the local Oxford community. Those are all people, at least for me, investors in Curtsy, and help me realize the world is a little bigger than kind of this insulated environment. And I think it's a really good time to be in college, and it's important that students go out and build things and try to, the safety net is really big when you're there. You have a lot of time, and there's really no other better way to learn and experiment than when you're in school, I think.
Awesome. Terza Yanatova, thank you very much for joining us. We very much appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us. You're actually half a world away, so I'd like for you, if you could, take a minute to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what your situation is right now.
My name is Tereza Yanatova. I come from a little town in the Czech Republic called Nová Paka. I started my journey in University of Mississippi in 2015. I've recently graduated with a degree in electrical engineering, emphasis in biomedical engineering, and a minor in business. I've been a student athlete over these past 5 years. I'm playing tennis for the university. I started my master's degree this past fall, so I'm studying master's in engineering science with emphasis in mechanical engineering right now. I hold several leadership roles. I'm a secretary and representative for women's tennis on the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and I'm also on the leadership board for Rebels International, which is a group of international student athletes.
Well, I'm glad you got so involved when you were a student here. So, you competed in and got second place and also some special awards in the Gillespie Business Plan competition last year. Could you tell us a little bit about DataBrace and what's going on and what's next for it?
Yes, so I'm grateful for being able to compete in the Gillespie Business Plan competition. I would just start off with saying me and my partner, Matthew Curry, he was a fellow electrical engineering student here at Ole Miss. So during our junior year, we kind of started thinking about ideas for our senior design project, and we went to talk to Dr. Dwight Watt, who's the head of biomedical engineering department, and we told him about our ideas and wanting to combine electrical, mechanical, and biomedical engineering fields on our project, and he actually had this idea in mind, and one of his colleagues, Dr. Chip Wade, actually owns a patent for this novel knee brace hinge, and so they told us about this project, and we were immediately interested in working on that. And so by the time our senior year started, we started with the project, continued working on it, and our new teacher for senior design, Troy Dure, actually introduced us to the idea of this competition, and we both wanted to try it, and so we kind of learned few information and started working on the business plan, creating a presentation, a video pitch, and that's basically how our last semester in college went by.
Hey, we got a lot of money.
And because of the COVID pandemic, obviously we weren't able to get as far with the project as we wanted. And as I said, I started my master's degree in August, and so I'm actually able to continue on this project, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your experience then with COVID. So you're now all the way in the Czech Republic. You're still trying to do distance education. So tell us a little bit about what it's done to impact you, and then kind of how you've gotten past it or overcome the challenge.
So yeah, having my senior year disrupted like this, basically in the middle of the senior year, not really knowing what's going to happen in the next year. I didn't really have any plans as far as future concerned. I was thinking about grad school. I wasn't sure if I was going to go back home to the Czech Republic or do grad school in the United States. So that's been quite a challenge trying to figure out my next step. But as I mentioned before, being a student athlete, I also had my senior season disrupted and canceled. And there are a lot of weeks of conversations. And in the end, the NCAA granted us another year of eligibility, which I decided to use. And I would like to thank you, Ole Miss Athletics, for giving me the opportunity to come back. And basically this opened the door for me to start my master's program at Ole Miss. And so I would say there were some huge challenges, but it also brought some positive things for me, being able to come back. But yeah, and I would say other challenges, as I flew back home during the pandemic, it was quite an experience traveling during that time, not knowing whether I was going to get home, whether I was going to get stuck somewhere. Thankfully, I was lucky enough to make all my connections and arrive when I was supposed to.
Yeah. No, it was a weird time being anywhere near an airport during that time, and after spring break here, it kind of got worse throughout the country. So yeah,
Yes.
we're glad you got home and didn't get stuck.
And especially the people at the airports or on the planes, they weren't really acting like anything was happening. So nobody really wore a face mask or anything like that.
Mm.
So I was looking like a weird person to some people, I guess, at the airport because I was wearing the gloves and face mask, and
Yep.
I was fully prepared.
Well, I suppose you were just ahead of your time. Now you would be not an unusual sight at an airport or at Walmart.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so in your professional sporting career as well as your academic career, you surely face some challenges. What keeps you from giving up when you face those things?
I would say growing up in the athletic setting, being an athlete since early age, having to face several, I would say, serious injuries, I think I kind of learned how to be resilient, no matter what the obstacle is. Just working towards my goals. I think that's what kept me not giving up.
So strong goal commitment and okay.
Yeah, I would also say having, setting up schedule or like having my routines helped me to stay on the track,
Mm-hmm.
trying to work towards the goals and Yeah, there were some ups and downs. Obviously, like everybody has to has to face challenges, but I would say I was pretty positive during this time, so that helped me a lot.
Yeah. Certainly a skill and a mindset to be envied right now. As you were coming along and growing up, did you have any mentors, and who were they, and what did they help you? What did you learn from them?
I would like to mention two of my college professors actually, who I mentioned before, Troy Drury and Dr. Dwight Waddell. They were pretty big mentors to me, especially last year of my undergrad. I learned a lot from them, but also when I needed to ask them a question or just wanted to talk about some professional stuff regarding my future as far as grad school concerned, or trying to go into industry, they were always there for me, and they're always trying to give me an advice. So I'd like to thank them, and then also my academic advisor through athletics, Justin Light, has been tremendously helpful to me. I've known him since my freshman year, and yes, he's been helpful on both academics and leadership. Like trying to help me develop my leadership skills and just trying to help me to be successful managing both athletics, academics.
It's a lot to cover, right?
Yes.
It's a big juggling act. So, as you look back on your college career, you're certainly in a position where you had overcome obstacles and had learned to be fairly resilient. When confronted with an idea or database in this instance that had some potential, you were equipped to take advantage of it and pursue it. As you think back, like what other things could you have looked at or learned in college to try to help you build that entrepreneurial mindset? And what could people do generally to try to help build that?
I would definitely say that one of the most important things for me and for young students is to make connections. Make connections with your professors, make connections with older students. If there's an opportunity to go to an event to talk to some alumni or meet people from the industry or field that you're interested in, I think that's a huge thing to do. That helped me a lot. I would say another thing that's really useful, and I feel like every entrepreneur has to learn to be confident in his or her skills, abilities, not being afraid to try to do new things, getting out of the comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, push yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's certainly not the case that folks in college don't know what their skills they're going to need when they get out of here. But it can be uncomfortable to try to chase them. Okay.
Yes, I definitely feel like competing in the Gillespie competition, for both me and my partner Matthew, it was a great experience, but we also had to get out of our comfort zone because talking in front of a lot of people, giving a presentation is not something you do very often in college. So that's also been, I think, helpful. So if people have opportunities to do presentations, talk in front of people, I think that's also very helpful.
Thanks very much. I do appreciate you giving me your time. And let us know what happens and where you end up, and I hope you get back here real soon.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Lawrence Adams, Ole Miss alum. And I don't want to quote the exact year. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your professional experience. Give us a background. Okay, you got a great story.
So graduated from University of Mississippi in 1997. I went to the university on a 4-year scholarship to play football, so had a great experience doing that. After leaving and graduating from the business school, I went on to work for Philip Morris USA, which is now known as Altria today because it changed names, I guess, about 2000, year 2000, it changed names to Altria. So I spent 15 years in corporate America. Had an opportunity to get 6 different promotions. So I had an opportunity to work in sales, marketing, also developing programs from a marketing perspective, and then moving down to Florida to run a larger team and ran the west coast of Florida for Altria for about 5 years. After that, I made some decisions to move out of corporate America and take an opportunity to open up Jimmy John's franchise there in Mississippi, although I am still here in Florida. So currently today I have 2 Jimmy John's franchise, one in Jackson and one in Flowood.
So, it's the challenge. We're all kind of in the midst of the COVID crisis, and personal crises or events that happen in your life tend to have the same sort of feeling that, like, things will never get better or things could never somehow get worse. So, like, tell us a little bit about, an experience you had that was potentially catastrophic, and then how you overcame.
Well, look, I think I need to quantify first. I don't think in my lifetime I've experienced anything like what we're dealing with today with COVID-19. I think from a change perspective, probably the closest thing that I can think of is obviously when I was there at the university, after my sophomore year where I started quarterback, we went on probation, which is extremely different for any program, football, no matter what sport you're dealing with. But we went from, I guess, a normal program being on TV every weekend to, limited scholarships, no TV, no bowl game opportunities, and it was for a 2-year period. So it was definitely a different structure from what we were used to as a program. But when I look back and try to say, hey, what was something that really changed the way you did things in life, that's probably the closest thing that I could come to at this point that would disrupt kind of what you do on an everyday basis and how things went. Because obviously, like I said, that really changed up the way the program trajectory went, the amount of talent we could bring in to get better. I think we still had very good coaches, but it was hard to sell a top recruit, hey, come to Ole Miss and play with us when you don't get on TV and all the other things that, we decided to come to Ole Miss for. So that was probably the closest thing that I could say really disrupted kind of a day-to-day or what you thought was going to happen from a life perspective.
Yeah, what'd you learn from that?
Probably the biggest thing is you always have to prepare for change, and you don't know what that change is going to be. I always give this story a lot of times when during that time, Coach Thomas Tuberville was the coach. And I could almost tell you from my freshman year all the way through my senior year what I was going to do every day of the week, no matter if it was summer or whatever. We always had a routine. So when you start thinking about your hard days and going to practice, he would always put on there, like the day before, what you would do. Well, a couple of those days he would actually go in and he'd say the day before, hey, you're going to go in shorts. We're going to have a light walkthrough. So all that day you're kind of preparing yourself like, okay, it's going to be a light day, get to practice, and, we're going to walk through. But of course, when you get there, you look at the board, it's like, nope, we're going full live practice. It's a live scrimmage, So I think that really taught me and all of my teammates that you never can really truly understand what your situation is going to be until you arrive, because that was a whole different mindset to be able to say, hey, I'm kind of going to walk through, have a lazy day versus going to say, hey, I need to be ready to go all out scrimmage. So that was a really big lesson on how to kind of understand what you need to do and be prepared for whatever comes.
So when you think forward to the challenges in your field, what are the things, what do you think you're going to have to adapt to next?
I think, when you start thinking about the restaurant industry and where we are with COVID-19, I really truly think it's probably changed forever, because you're going to have a segment of the population that's probably not going to ever feel comfortable sitting in a restaurant for a long period of time, probably over the next 2 to 3 years. So that's going to be a huge impact. I can't see us really moving away from mass very quickly. So I think it's going to be, very different from how you move to continue to gain your business, what you used to have on inside. Do you have space to expand outside? And then, how do you continue to please your customer base that actually wants to come and sit down and have a meal with their friends for lunch and those kind of things? And the people that want to get away from the office and kind of get, a different setting. So it's going to be definitely a very different atmosphere, and how we keep our customers. Obviously from a cleaning perspective, we were always one of the cleanest restaurants, but now you're looking on a major different level. One example is we have the self-serve Coke machines. We're kind of moving forward. We got to think through, hey, is that really what you want to, have in a restaurant where, all your customers are going to self-serve? That might be something that we have to do differently. So I think the restaurant industry outside, and when you start thinking about all the different industries, I think it's going to be impacted the most from a customer standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't thought about self-serve Coke machines. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
So for your own career, what are some challenges you faced, and then what kept you from giving up?
Well, one is I've always been truly motivated to lay a foundation for my kids to do what I call as dream, right? So I want my kids, after they graduate college, if they say, hey, Dad, I want to go do X, Y, Z, it might not be what I think they should do, or it might not even be the best monetarily career wise. But I want them to be able to say, hey, I want to go do those things, grow. And, if they bump their heads, they can come back, and Dad is in a situation to say, hey, you're fine, brush yourself off, go get back out there, continue to dream. Because I think that's when we change really what our kids and what the world looks like, when you have younger people able to truly go out there and do what they're passionate about doing versus, hey, I need to go get a job. Because when I graduated from Ole Miss, my mom and dad was like, hey, great, pack up. You can come back and get your old room back and look for a job, because that's the best you could do. And I had an opportunity to go to Canada, but I didn't want to go because I didn't think the pay was well enough, because they don't pay the same way they do today as they did before. So I was like, well, if I'm going to play football, I really want to be able to live and provide for myself versus, not doing it. But I would have loved to tell my parents, hey, I'm going to hang out over here, and I'm going to try to go to the NFL for the next year and get in good shape and try to do that. But that wasn't an option, not unless I was going to stay at my parents' house forever and all those kind of things. So I was like, okay, I got a degree, let's go get a job. So I really want to just give my kids an opportunity to dream.
Okay. So who would you consider a mentor then, and how did this person assist you to deal with the challenges you faced?
Wow, I thought about this question. I have so many different mentors, and I think they have kind of transitioned over time, and I still keep in contact with all of them. But I really, they've all been segments of life. Really, kind of starting off with different coaches that I've had. Really, I've been close to pretty much all the coaches that I've had. Then moving into Altria and corporate America, obviously you have to have very good mentors if you're going to try to move up through the corporate ladder. So I probably had, 5 or 6 really, really good mentors here, going through corporate America. I think when I left corporate America, and probably what I would love to deliver to students is, and even in this COVID-19, situation we're in, what I found here lately, what I've done from a mentor perspective is I kind of turn to books. And I know people kind of think, oh, how can somebody be a mentor? But I really have found that if you can dig into books of somebody that is in a field that you'd like to be in, and they're providing some really good guidance for you. You don't have to know them and be able to talk to them. You can actually use that and this time that we have to really kind of transition and say, hey, I'm going to take, because one that I'll mention is Warren Buffett. I really have over really probably the last 10 years, really been studying his, the things he's done since he was young and even now, and how he goes through about the market and the different things, and how he teaches individuals how to work the market and grow money. And it's been great. I had an opportunity in not last year, year before last, because of course last year was COVID. But I had the opportunity to go out to Nebraska to the shareholders meeting, which was great for me. So I think the message I would deliver is, in this day and age, I think you can take an opportunity to have anybody that you really look up to be your mentor. And you'd be shocked if you reach out to them after you read a couple of books and have some really good knowledge, you might actually get a call back.
Awesome. So if you were thinking, about, and Warren Buffett actually came up in the last conversation too.
Okay.
If you were thinking about what college students should be prepared for, to prepare what we'll call an entrepreneurial mindset, and I'll frame that a little bit to say, we're in the middle of a recession. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. But a lot of the job growth that came out of the last recession came from startups, people's careers. The way they manage their career needs to be very flexible and kind of opportunity focused, let's say. What should college students do to develop that, or kind of prepare themselves to be flexible?
Well, one of the things I think they'll have a pretty good exercise in how to be flexible, just going through this pandemic and the change that they've had. I think really from trying to deliver that, I think it'll be really beneficial for them to go back and say, hey, what did I really do? How did I think about what was my thought process and how I get myself ready for school? What decisions did I make, and why did I go back to school or do e-learning? So I think understanding their thought process through all of this pandemic will be great for them from a reflection standpoint. Also, from a mental aspect of how they think through problems would be great to be able to articulate that. Secondly, I'd say it's the best time for students right now. I know that's probably crazy to even think about, but like you said, if you look at it, we're in a recession right now. COVID-19 is, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, has changed the way most people will look at business, look at life, how they go about doing things different. So they're at the foundation where they can go and really brainstorm and say, hey, what's going to come out of this that's different? What's around me that is totally changed that I can now capitalize and build a new business, or build something that now companies that have functioned for 50 years now have to change? Well, I have that solution for them to go change, because right now every company in the world, that's huge when you start thinking about it, every company in the world is now looking for new solutions. So if you can now brainstorm, think through, hey, this segment of what I do every day, or how I go about something, or whatever product or services you use, do you have a solution of how you can bring that to market better, make customers happier in the new processes that we have to go through? You can bring great wealth to yourself, as well as start your own business or your own consulting firm. It probably really is the best opportunity for them right now.
Yeah, they're not coming out into a situation where they're going to go into a job, get an opportunity where they can come up with new stuff quite as often.
Right. Yeah. This time, when you start thinking through right now, if you have some solutions where you can solve these bigger problems, man, the sky's the limit for you. Next 20 years, there will be some company nobody ever knew. They always have on Instagram, all this list of internet companies that are huge now, that 20 years ago, they didn't even exist. And I think we'll be looking at the same thing 10 to 20 years down the road.
Thank you. We hope that you've enjoyed the REDe Summit for 2020. I'd like to thank very much Lawrence Adams, William Alt, and Teresa Yanatova for coming to speak with us today. and speaking about their experiences in entrepreneurship, as well as, you know, their kind of life experiences in the midst of the crisis we all find ourselves in. I hope it's been a worthwhile experience for you, and I hope to see you at the center or at some other entrepreneurship activity on campus real soon. Howdy toddy.